Today is going to be a little bit short video because we're just going to go over some stuff and not a lot has changed. As we noticed when we called the short squeeze down at the lows down here, we noticed that the 2 hour has yet to curl down, giving us some kind of pullback. Now this has exceeded even as high up as I thought it would go without some consolidation, but it seems this sideways movement was enough for us to actually head higher. So I at least wanted to get you guys some daily expected moves. Right now we're looking over at the Qs. Let's switch over to the SPY and keep things in order, as the SPY is possibly even going to test all-time highs soon, right? Possibly going to test some major highs. How this would actually want to react going forward is if this is some kind of build up to a key level, we would want some consolidation around that level. If this continues to get more and more excited, you have to be aware of if we start to experience weakness and this daily rolls over, because you could still go negative here. So we're just going to talk about a few things today, but not a lot has changed. I mean, as a trader, I myself have taken out my longs as we hit this point. I am completely out of my longs at this point. I've made plenty of money in this move and I'm very happy about it. I'm glad we used NVIDIA on the 2 hour to show you guys how we can find a bottom in this market. NVIDIA is a very important stock showing some good divergence, and that's how we find a bottom in the overall market. So that was a lot of fun. Good thing that we pointed that out, and we even said there would be some kind of short squeeze. Now this is going a little higher up than expected, and tomorrow looks like it could be a dud day. We do have 561.94 to the upside and 557.28 to the downside. So there's two ways to read into these daily expected moves for tomorrow, priced in from the options market. If you want to learn how to trade around these type of things, well, then that course is down there for 90% off. It's only $100 to learn how to trade in this market, how we found the actual bottom here for using NVIDIA. That's what you can pay attention to. That's what you can learn in those courses. It's only going to be $100 for another less than 2 weeks. So really got to get that while it lasts, guys. Thank you so much to everyone who's taken it. But as we read into these, there's two things that really come to my mind, which is, are we going to see a really dud day where it is just blatantly boring before we get FOMC, before we get anything related to the Jackson Hole, right? So anything like that. Or are we going to see something crazy? Because these are so tight that you do have an opportunity, if you get outside of these very quickly, to see something crazy. So we'll pay attention to that. Right now, it looks like we are directly pointing towards that weekly expected move. As of right now, the volatility is so low for tomorrow that we could just trickle up and touch that and then see what happens in the next trading day. So we'll pay attention to these. As of right now, you're still waiting, being a diligent trader, being patient. This is a very good opportunity to say, shorting a short squeeze is very difficult. They will use your shorting as liquidity to push the market higher. If that doesn't see any weakness and we don't get a lot of news until Jackson Hole and FOMC, where we'll talk about some rate cuts, which they're either going to, in my opinion, hold it steady or drop it by 0.25, so 25 basis points. So just pay attention to that going on. But as we can see, we are not even crossed over on this MACD, so we could assume that this will continue. This has not crossed over yet, so we can't even say pullback. As we go over into the Qs, getting you those daily expected moves for the Qs, we notice a very similar story. You're seeing a dramatic decrease in implied volatility for tomorrow. This is the smallest these have been in a long time. Okay, so for the Qs, we still have not gotten that 2 hour curl down. Am I chasing this move? No, I'm out of my longs at this point, waiting for some consolidation. That's why this video is going to be short, because we're saying the same thing as pretty much as our previous video, which is, yeah, we can continue to squeeze as long as this curls up, but I'm not going to bank on this thing curling up and going up forever. I think it needs to get some kind of consolidation before it can break through some major levels. And notice this, that the Qs aren't seeing as much positivity, so we'll pay attention to if the SPY gets overzealous and makes that reversal signal on the daily side of things. We can pay attention to if this is setting up a lower high. So we'll pay attention to that for the Qs. But do I think this is all crashing down? No, I actually think that this is good, and if we keep good structure on the way up, we can go higher. But it all depends on how this actually wants to play out. If it keeps trickling up, we can see a sudden drop that convinces you we're going to crash, when weirdly enough, you might just be making some kind of cup, big cup and handle. So for tomorrow, the levels to pay attention to: 485.12 to the upside, and you have 477.42 to the downside. So very small range. And once again, just to repeat it, that tells me either we are going to see quite a dud day or we're going to see some crazier price movement. Now, with the smaller implied volatility, you're more leaning towards some kind of slow, sluggish day again, which we seem to get slow, sluggish days that just keep going up, and we're pointing directly towards that weekly expected move. So this area right here, I really expect that to be tested tested in the next 2 trading sessions for 87.34 would make a lot of sense. So I think we need to pay attention to that, see if this curls down at any time. And at first, remember, when that does curl down, that is just saying pullback for the time being. The more reversal signal you're going to look for is, do we get that to pull back, head higher over time, and then see that form some kind of 2-hour divergence? We will be looking out for that with you. Now, something to pay attention to throughout this is going to be the dollar and the reactions that we are going to get from the dollar. We have not seen a confirmation of these reversal signals that we had that were very intact, but throughout the day, they're getting more and more violated. So you are seeing a multiple point divergence here saying, hey, the price action for the dollar could increase at any moment if we get some bad news, is how I want to say that, because right now you're seeing this is the correct correlation of the market. This is not a rigged thing by any means, because the dollar is heading down while assets are starting to head up, and that makes total sense. People are going out of cash and getting into assets. That makes total sense. What we want to be aware of is if this 4-hour crosses up, you have to be aware of that, because this can curl up, and then that can curl up a daily side of things, which if this daily turns up, you might see some kind of bigger pullback for a moment, or even maybe the dollar fully bottoms out, and that is some kind of V-shaped move from the dollar. We'll pay attention to that for you. Now, the last thing I think to keep on your mind is the PCC, while the dollar has been dropping, has been very low. So this is a little different. You're now at a CPC of 0.65. You're at a PCC of 0.75. So that tells me most people are leveraged to the upside right now, and that is something to keep in mind as we go look at volatility, which volatility doing something very interesting here, testing a daily expected moves. If you guys want me to go through these stocks, we will go through them in the morning. I just want to keep this brief. I don't want to waste your time, because most of it is, hey, we're looking for a 2-hour pullback still. We're still being good traders and being patient. We caught the bottom. We caught a good trade. We're not going to overtrade. That's how I'm doing things. I'm not trying to overtrade when I just made great money. I do not want to do that. I want to wait for the next trade setup, and I think a 2-hour pullback could convince me if it curls back up to go higher. So I'm not going to overtrade. As of right now, volatility sitting right at the 200. So that's the key thing. While everything looks good and dandy and everything looks all sunshine and rainbows, you still have volatility above the 200, and the 50 has crossed that 200. So if you get a big reaction here, this is where you would get it. If we start to close below that, then you can see a further squeeze. So that's something we're paying attention to. And the reason we're paying attention to it today is because you do have some tapering here for volatility. You do have some of that going on. You do have volatility that looks like if it turns up on this 30-minute, you actually could see that come back in. And we'll see if that's able to lead into a strong positive trend, or if that's just going to be something simple like, hey, the 2 hours curling up towards the center line, and then we get towards that center line and we curl back down. That's something we will pay attention to. Watch out for reversal signals going forward. But I'd be looking for some kind of reaction in volatility coming forward over the next 2 trading sessions. If we don't get it, then we might get more confirmed squeezes from volatility, which we can pay attention to on the daily scale. But I didn't want to make this long and drawn out. A lot of the charts that we're looking at, we'll look at in the morning during my live show. Please make sure you're subscribed and everything and have those notifications on so you can join us. I'll look at any stock for you. I'll tell you how I see it. If you like it, that's great. If you don't, I'm sorry, but I have to tell you the truth. I'm not going to sugarcoat things for people. I'm going to make sure to be as honest as possible. Make sure I'm really honest with what I'm seeing so that you can possibly learn how to make better decisions in this market, because this short squeeze was fantastic. If you took the course, you probably benefited from this, especially if you were paying attention to NVIDIA, even Tesla at this point, and things like that. So we'll pay attention to more things going on into tomorrow. I just wanted to make sure to give you those daily expected moves so you're aware of them. And now I'm going to go spend some time with my family, and I encourage you to do the same. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great night, and I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Peace.